Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Buddy of the Apes, released in 1934. It's the 81st in the series and it's directed by Ben Hardaway. Due to the stereotypes in this cartoon, well, I don't see a restoration coming through anytime soon. I think it should be restored for preservation purposes mainly, but if I'm being honest, I'd rather other more better cartoons to be released on physical media over this one. In case you haven't seen this one, it's under copyright, so I can't share the full thing on YouTube, but there are other ways to see it, of course. But we have Buddy, who is pretty much Tarzan in this one, and after some quote-unquote funny gags with the animals, we later on see that the natives they spot him, and I guess they want to catch him and cook him or something. It's really weird, there's no motive there, but anyway. And that's pretty much it, so yeah, not really much to this one. I'm not going to include the original commentary I did before I take that down, and the reason is I listened back to it and there was really nothing in there of substance that would be worth repurposing for this review. So I'm going to do this all fresh for you and go through the cartoon and some of the references, but this one shouldn't be a long review at all because, if I'm being honest, this cartoon is really dull. Really dull. Even if you took out the stereotypes and changed them over into something else, it will still be a very dull cartoon. But let's go through a few points of trivia. So first up, you'll notice the name Ben Hardaway. So this is his first directorial credit on a Looney Tunes short. So he'll do about 7 shorts before becoming a story man and gag man for a while, and then later on in the decade he would do some more shorts and he'll be teamed up with Cal Dalton. I sort of have a love-hate relationship with Ben Hardaway. I like some of the wackiness he does in some of his shorts, particularly later on when he's actually teamed up with Cal Dalton, and later on when he does some Woody Woodpeckers, but if I'm being honest, yeah, it's kind of like all style, no substance. It's like he copies or is influenced by some of the better directors like Tex Avery and people like that, but doesn't know why those films are funny. He just seems to try and do his own thing, but doesn't quite work a lot of the time. I'm not saying all of his shorts are bad. He does have some bright spots, but when he's good, his shorts are pretty decent. But when he's bad, like in this one, yeah, he's really bad. So maybe he was much better as a story man when teamed up with someone, but yeah, I don't know. I have that love-hate relationship with him, but if you like his work, let me know in the comments. I'm definitely curious to hear about it. And there's one bit of animation which seems to be reused so many times in the future. So you got the animation of the natives running towards the camera, so to speak, like really angry. That was reused in shorts such as Buddy's Theater, Speaking of the Weather, and was even used in Alibaba Bound where the characters were redrawn. So, Buddy of the Apes, that is a parody of the title Tarzan of the Apes. So Tarzan, for those of you that don't know, is a character that was created by Edgar Rice Burroughs. He wrote a whole bunch of Tarzan books, and later on that ended up becoming things like comic books, movies, and radio, and so on. So in case you're not aware of Tarzan, he's a pretty well-known character, but I guess it's not as popular as it once was back in 20s, 30s, up until roughly 1960s. But essentially, Tarzan is a son of a British lord and lady, and they get marooned in Africa, and the mother and father end up dying, and Tarzan is raised by a group of great apes. Eventually, he grows up and does all these adventures. He meets up with Jane, who is a young American woman, and in other books that come out later, he even goes to London, lives there for a bit, but then decides to return back to the jungle. So, yeah, I'm simplifying things here, but it's basically an adventure story. Now, this short doesn't share too many elements with the actual Tarzan story. Obviously, the title is the same as the book. You see Buddy dressed up similar to Tarzan in his leopard loincloth, and He's with a bunch of animals, although in the books it was mainly with his ape family, and here we just see all kinds of animals, including a kangaroo for some weird reason, but anyway, we'll go with that. And he has a knife, just like in the books as well. And sadly, yes, as a product of its time, the native African element was seen as, okay, the whites were cultured, the blacks were uncultured, so that's what you have presented here, but to a much greater extreme than even what the books actually did. It's not really that surprising, is it? But at least that's where this reference comes from. But what was interesting is that Tarzan yell, and that is actually more of an element that they try to imitate from the movies, because around this time the movies started becoming more and more popular, and it was a pretty long-running franchise. It was actually, there were a few silent films, and then once the talking ones came out, that was a big franchise from the 30s till roughly about the 60s. And then there'll be movies sporadically after that as well, including, of course, the Disney one, which I actually don't mind. I actually think that's a really nice film. Not perfect, but I like that one. I really do. It's definitely a lot better than this short, I can tell you that. And the funny thing about that Tarzan yell, it was actually reused in the Coconut Grove where we see Tarzan in that brief moment. So we see our hero, Buddy, and we just see things. I guess one of the gags is a precursor to the Flintstones, I suppose, with the elephant shower. I do find it weird that Buddy has to sort of hide behind this elephant to squeeze out his loincloth and all that. It's like, well, you're in the jungle. I don't think anyone's going to care. Naked, but anyway, it is what it is. But we then see a lot of funny business with Buddy brushing his teeth with a plant, and we see animals doing silly things, and some really wonky animation, particularly of that giraffe doing the whole spitting. It's just not funny. I'm sorry. I'm trying to look at this. Sometimes something may not be funny, but at least it'd be something interesting, and in this case, there really isn't. But anyway. Then we see the croc using the hedgehog spikes to clean dentures. But again, is it funny? No. It's actually kind of reminiscent of the older Boscos, where there was just a lot of funny business timed to the music. At least those were interesting because they were timed to the music in interesting ways, and they were a product of the time where it was just a sound focused, because sound was pretty new, right? But here, it's just boring. We've seen much better things already. Now, when that hippo says "Bula boo," "Bola bo," that's just part of the song that's being played in that particular part of the scene. Again, I just shrug and it's like, all right. I'm guessing the people in the audience watching this may have known the song and they'll maybe wanted to sing along with it or something. I'm not sure, but I'm actually not as familiar with that song. So if you know more about it, definitely let me know in the comments. Then we see the baby chimp escape through, well, unfunny means, and I'm just looking at that as a parent going, why would you have that bed so close to the edge like that? It's very cringy, but I get why the scene is done, and I guess from a storytelling point of view, especially since Hardaway's a storyman, right? You want to establish that Buddy is the hero of this picture, so you create a bit of drama. This chimp escapes, and Buddy saves him, and even uses his knife, just like he would in the actual novels and in the movies. But I'm sure there was a funnier way to do all of that, but anyway. Then we see a weird animal dance, which was probably the more interesting bit of animation in this one. And then we're about halfway and we see our antagonist, which, yeah, you can see for yourself in the imagery. I'm not going to even say it because it's pretty dang obvious. And once again, this is a parody of something that was mostly exaggerated or made up in the first place. So it's like a parody of a parody here. And what we see here, the gags, even if you replace these characters with something that looked quote-unquote respectable and less exaggerated in such a really awful way, these gags aren't even funny. What, reading nudist news? Big whoop, not funny. And then you see a table tennis match where here we go around the mulberry bush. Alright, okay. And yes, we get the stereotypical nose rings. Yep, check. Bones through the hair. Yep, check. Pretty much every single thing that you need to know about African native stereotypes in 1930s cartoons is pretty much present right here. And I'm not saying Ben Hardaway is the only person at fault here. Just about every student did their own variation on African cannibal type stories. So, does it excuse this? No. But, yeah, it's just not funny at all. So, towards the end, when the last third, we finally get into the action with Buddy right up against the natives. And it's not even entertaining to look at either. These gags are just flat. There's just really nothing here. And we get the elephant shooting rocks. Not funny at all. As mentioned before, there's a kangaroo. I don't know why the kangaroo is here in the African jungle, but okay, guys, you're probably yelling out, it's just a cartoon. Fine. Alright, I can excuse that. It'd be good if the joke was actually funny, right? No? Yeah? Okay. And we get a supposed punchline with the child native going up and being punched out by this Joey inside the kangaroo's pouch. Yep, alright, cool, no problem there. I'll try and give this some credit. I really don't like being so negative in these things, so I'll try and pick a positive. The hippo cannon gag, there we go. That's at least creative. Is it funny? No, but at least it's creative. At least Hardaway is trying something here. And we see the king later on, voiced by Billy Bletcher, who, well, he had a deep enough voice, so I guess why they picked him here. They weren't considering people of color or anything in those days. Anyway, whatever. And this is his second Looney Tunes short appearance. He was in Buddy's Garage. That was his first appearance. That was something I forgot to mention then. So he would have just been hired just as a quick, hey, you got a deep voice and we got this African king. Can you voice him? So, yeah. And yeah, the king being hurt by pins. Not funny. Sorry. And then, of course, Buddy wins and the short ends. Done. All right. This is not a good short. And it's particularly annoying that I reviewed another racist short, Going to Heaven on a Mule, and this one comes straight after. See, Going to Heaven on a Mule at least has the song in it. At least the music, we can listen to it, yeah? Here, there's just nothing. This is a whole lot of nothing. So this one I gave Buddy's Day Out 1 out of 10. I gave the previous one 2 out of 10, so let's give this one 1.5 out of 10, just for the heck of it. It's terrible. It's not good. It's dull. It's boring. And again, I've got this love-hate relationship with Ben Hardaway. He does much better things later on, even if they're not exactly the greatest. So, do yourself a favor, if you want to watch Ben Hardaway, watch some of the earlier Woody Woodpeckers, watch some of his work where he's teamed up with Cal Dalton, and yeah, definitely give this one a skip unless you're a masochistic completionist like me. But that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.